Hello everyone, it's time for Tuesday tutorial, and the song we're featuring this week for our little tutorial is Making Whoopee. Great song, written in 1928 by Walter Donaldson and Gus Kahn, great songwriting team, and featured in the film Whoopee, where the song was sung by the great Eddie Cantor. There are various different arrangements and versions of this song floating around on the internet, some of them simpler than others. Now, I've chosen a version that is a bit more interesting to play than the really simplified versions. It's got a few jazz chords in it, augmented, diminished minor sixth and that sort of thing, just to make it more interesting to play and to listen to, actually. There's not that much that's difficult about it. There might be some chords you haven't come across before, but apart from that, if we'll go through it and we'll see how it unfolds. Now, the introduction has an unexpected chord in it. It's in the key of D major, but then the second chord that you come across is a B flat seventh, which is quite an interesting musical juxtaposition of a D chord followed by a B seventh chord. Okay, now to achieve that on your fretboard, well, you play your D one of several ways. The normal way would be strings 2, 3 and 4 fretted at 2, like that. I use fingers 2, 3 and 4 for that. Pam uses
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. Okay, now to get from there to the B flat seventh, which is 1, 2, 1, 1. So 1, 2, 1, 1. You need a full 4-string bar on the first fret, the most difficult fret to bar, obviously. And then your middle finger goes onto the second fret of the third string. So there's your B flat seventh. And then we go from a D to a B flat seventh to an A seventh suspended. Now then, you may not have come across that before. Don't be put off by the code, because it's actually very easy to convert into action. It's simply 0, 1, 0, 0, and that's A seventh. See, if you play your ordinary A seventh, 0, 1, 0, 0, your open A seventh. Now, to suspend, suspended usually means suspended fourth, and to suspend the fourth, it means to increase or to sharpen the third note. To sharpen the third note to a fourth. So we're sharpening the C sharp, which is the first fret of the third string, by half a tone to bring it up to the fourth note in the scale of A major, which is D. So instead of playing an A seventh flat, we're playing an A seventh with a suspended fourth. So 0, 2, 0, 0. So,
and your finger is already there.
It is. So to get from the B flat seventh to the A seventh suspended, all you do is take the bar away. And that is as simple as it gets. So when you put those 4 chords together, the introduction sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. D, B flat seventh, A seventh suspended, A seventh. So 2 beats on each, 2 beats on B, 2 beats on B flat 7, 2 beats on A7 suspended, and 2 beats on A7. Okay, now that's the basic beginner's simple way of playing those 4 chords. If you want to add interest to it, you can voice them differently on your fretboard. Instead of playing D down there, you can play D up there, 2, 2, 2, 5, with a 4-string bar on the second fret and your little finger on the 5th fret. But how about this? If you play B flat as 7, 6, 5, 5, D rather, your D major chord is 7, 6, 5, 5, then you're in a position to play a B flat seventh up here. So on the play a G seventh and raise it until those two fingers are on the 5th fret, but don't sound the 4th string. So it's just those 3. And there's a B flat 7th. Now if you slide that shape back down 1 fret, there's an A 7th, and you can sound the 4th string there because it's a G note. This was in tune. But to achieve the A 7th suspended, you need to drop your little finger back on the 5th fret. So we get D, B flat 7th, A 7th suspended, and then remove your little finger to go to the A 7th. So that's another voicing for the introduction. So Pam, if you play the ordinary introduction,
yep,
and I'll play the one up on the 5th fret or thereabouts, it works like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that. So it just makes it a little bit different. I'm just going to tune while I'm talking, as it were. Now, when we get to the verses, all the verses are exactly the same in the chord sequence, the chord progression. And when we get to the bridge, there are 2 bridges. The lyrics are different, but the chords are the same, and it's the same 4-chord progression repeated. So we'll see when we get to the bridge. But first, let's go through the verse. Not difficult. It starts on that D major chord, and then we're going to go to a C diminished 7th to give it its proper name, but shorthand C diminished, most people understand what you mean. And the standard position, or the first position for a C diminished, is 2-3-2-3. Now, if you play your D major chord where Pam does, using fingers 1, 2 and 3 on strings 4, 3 and 2, then your index finger doesn't need to move to get from a C to the from a D to the C diminished. So there's a little anchor point for you. Then we go to an E minor 7th. Now from that C diminished, you can just take those 2 fingers away and slide your middle and your ring and little fingers down from the 3rd fret to the 2nd. So from a C diminished to an E minor 7th, and then to an A 7th from there. Any way you like. A 7th in the first position, A 7th in the second position is open 4, 3, 4. So all sorts of different chords. So we get D, C diminished, E minor 7, A 7. And then the second half of the first line is a very simple progression, D to D 7th, any way you like, to a G, and then a G minor 6th. You may not have come across that before. It'll be in your chord dictionary as 0201. But again, it's a nice jazzy chord, those minor 6, the lovely chords. And then the second half of the verse is a D to a B minor 7th, which is 2-2-2-2. So you can either flatten one of your fingers across the first string or just go to a 4-string bar. 4-string bar might be a better bet, because from the B minor 7th you're going to slide it down to the 1st fret and drop your middle finger in on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, because you're going back to that B flat 7th. And then you go to an A 7th suspended, so we know, as from the introduction, you just lift your barring finger away. Now you've only got 1 beat on there, and then you just slide that down to resolve to an E 7th, and making whoopee. Now, a little turnaround chord at the end of the verse is an A7th augmented. Again, don't be frightened by the symbol. It's nothing to be afraid of. A7th augmented is quite simply 0, 1, 1, 0. So, and you can play it either with a couple of fingers. I quite often just flatten my index finger across strings 2 and 3. Either way. So, if we put all that together, we'll go through it 2 times, sing the first verse, but as I say, all the verses repeat the chord pattern precisely right the way through. So we get, let's just do one the introduction once round as well, to see how it works. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Another bride, another June, another sunny honeymoon, another season, another reason for making whoopee. A7 augmented, and then you go to the second verse. So let's say the verses repeat the same chord progression pattern all the way through. Now, when we go from the end of the second verse to the bridge, we're going from a D7th to a C diminished. All right, now, hello, have a think about this, because if you play your D7th, the Hawaiian open D7th, so 2, 0, 2, 0, if you use those 2 fingers, fingers 1 and 2, then they are already in position for the C diminished, aren't they? You can just put your ring and little fingers onto fret 3, strings 1 and 3. So from D7, those fingers don't move. Okay, and then we get from the C diminished, it's just 4 chords in the first line of the bridge. It's C sharp diminished to E minor, G minor 6, which we've already seen, to D, go round again, C diminished, E minor, G minor 6 to D, and then 2 beats on the D, and then go to that A7th augmented again, just as a turnaround before you get to the next verse. So the bridge passage sounds like this. Go straight to it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Picture a little love nest down where the roses cling. Picture the same sweet E minor, G minor 6, think what a year can D, A7 suspend augmented. So there we go, that's the verse and the bridge, and that's the whole song until you get to the very last line. The second time for the bridge, I've put a little turnaround in there just as a little musical pause before it gets into the last verse. So the second time round on the bridge gets like this. 2, 3, 4. He doesn't make much money, only 5,000 per. Some judge who thinks he's funny says you'll pay 6 to C diminished, E minor 7th, and then we get into the final verse. And the final verse, the first half is exactly what you're used to with every other verse, but the last line throws in a rogue F sharp minor 7th just to confuse you. But you won't be confused now because you know what's going to happen. If you don't know F sharp minor 7th, it's 2, 4, 2, 4. That's the first position for an F sharp minor seventh. Now the advantage of that is that you're going to it you're going from it to a C diminished. So all you need to do is to slide your little and ring fingers down one fret. So you compress that shape. So we go from F sharp minor 7 to the C diminished, and then finish it off with a B flat 7th, A7 suspended, A7. And then we repeat that little turnaround and repeat the last line, slowing it down. So the last verse sounds like this. Shall we? 2, 3. He says, now judge, suppose I fail. The judge says, but right into jail. You better keep her. I think it's cheaper than making whoopee. You better keep her. I think it's cheaper than making whoopee. And we just put a little perfect cadence in there to close it out and finish it off. Go from a D to a G, G minor 7th, D, and finish on a D6.
Which is an bar across the second fret.
Same as B minor 7th.
Yeah.
2, 2, 2, 2. Okay, that's a fairly short tutorial this week, and it's just to throw a couple more interesting chords your way, a couple of interesting variations on voicing those chords with this B flat 7th up here and that sort of thing. So there's the tutorial. Song sheets available on request as usual, and on Sunday we'll put up a play along version, and I hope you have fun with it. I think it's a brilliant song, and that's about it really, isn't it?
That's it.
Okay, well, until we meet again, let's hope it's not too soon. So stay safe, be nice to yourselves, be kind to each other, and goodbye for now. Take care.